It is a lot about just like listening a little bit better to your audience and then digging a little bit deeper into what you want to produce and what you're passionate about. And when they get to match up what your audience is looking for and what you're really good at giving, man, then it's just really good business and it's really good marketing. And, SEO just plays a little bit of that, making that connection.
That was Megan Clarke, and this is episode number 181 of the Chopped Podcast. Hey there, thanks for joining me today. I am Marley and I am with the blog Namely Marley, and I am your host, and this is the Chopped Podcast. This is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. You know what this show is about, right? It's about food and blogging, but I like to think of it as something more. I like to think of it as a podcast about encouragement. Okay, so let me explain. Do you watch tennis? I am sure you all know that I'm a big tennis nut, and I love tennis and I love playing tennis. I love watching tennis. And the big news in tennis this week is a 19-year-old, would you call her a girl, a woman? Let's just say girl for the sake of this conversation. 19-year-old won the U.S. Open. It's a big deal. A 19-year-old. It's the first time a teenager's won the U.S. Open in quite a while. Her name is Bianca Andreescu. I think I'm saying that right. Andreescu, maybe. Anyway, and you know what? She said some things that I have just been thinking about a lot lately. It's just amazing to me that in addition to the physical training to learn the technical side of tennis that you have to spend your years of your life to, better figure it out and better execute on. But she said she also spent a lot of time training her brain. I don't know. I found that so interesting because what she said is that she did a lot of meditation and also visualization. She would actually, as a 16-year-old, visualize herself winning the U.S. Open so that by the time that she walked onto that, it is the biggest stadium in tennis around the world. And it's full of all these people. And of course, she's playing Serena, which of course, I have to be honest, I'm rooting for Serena because I love her so much. But anyway, so basically, she's playing Serena at the U.S. Open. New York loves Serena. So the crowd, it's just a packed stadium. I mean, can you just imagine how overwhelming that would be? It's, one thing to play tennis on a small court and then all these people watching and they're cheering when you make mistakes. It can be very overwhelming. So the fact that she was able to hold her composure, to me, is a testament to the mental strength that she developed over the years because she trained herself to expect that moment and to be excited by it. So I really believe there's a lot of power to having the correct mindset. And I feel like that's applicable. I mean, I'm always looking for ways that tennis and blogging are applicable to each other. And I think one way we can think about this is that you can also learn the technical side of food blogging, right? You can learn how to do the photographs and learn about the things that you need to do as far as the post is concerned and how to share it on social media. But you also need to train your mindset. And this has really come very handy for me lately. I'm sure we all go through ups and downs, and you feel the struggle and you either embrace it or it kind of wears you down. And to find opportunities to feel excited about the work that you're doing, maybe even visualize yourself, getting good feedback from your audience or sharing something on social media and seeing people, it doesn't have to be hordes of people. It can even be one person who is thrilled with the recipe. Those kinds of things, I think, can really help us stay mentally strong. And I think that's just as important as learning the technical skills. So that said, we're going to go on to today's show. And today I am talking with Megan Clarke, who is with Clapping Dog Media, and she is an SEO strategist. So clearly we're going to get into the technical side of food blogging. But that said, I really did admire Megan's, her energy is really great. And you can just tell that she's got a lot of enthusiasm for the work that she does and the way that she helps food bloggers and other bloggers, influencers as well, learn their craft and to take that to new levels. So I think it's a really exciting conversation. I love her style when it comes to SEO. I mean, the thing about SEO is this: you can have the best recipes in the world, but if nobody's seeing them, and that's your goal, is to have people see your recipes, then it's a little bit like you've got this bag of gold and you're hiding it in your pocket and nobody knows it's there. So that leads us to this question, and that is, how do you get your recipes seen more? And oftentimes we're going to Google because I think Megan says it's like 4 billion searches a day on Google. There are people out there that want to see what you have to offer. And so the question is, how do you help that happen? And SEO is one of those strategies that can do that. Megan's here discussing that today. Her approach is very personable and it's very easy to understand. So if you feel any way overwhelmed by SEO, you are going to love today's conversation. Specifically, we talk about some of the myths that Megan has uncovered related to SEO. And high on her list of SEO myths is that SEO is too hard, that it's too difficult to understand. To be honest, I kind of hate this whole expert model that I feel like is taking over the world. To me, the expert model is I'm the expert and, only I can do this for you. And so therefore you shouldn't do anything. I actually even read something recently by nail manicurists that said, basically all these things that you should not do to your fingernails. I thought it kind of made me laugh because I thought like they didn't want you to clip your fingernails. They didn't want you to file your fingernails. They didn't want you to push your cuticles back. None of those things. And I think, oh yeah, see, again, that's an example of an expert model, right? Where only they can touch my fingernails. I can't do anything. I think it kind of creates an attitude or a mindset of victimhood that, oh, I can't touch this or I'm going to mess it up. And so I really like Megan's approach because she's really more, she's got the SEO expertise, but she's really more of a coaching model. So her goal is to help you better understand your traffic and areas where you can grow it and how you can eventually break this down on your own. So her goal is to work with people for a little while and then kind of set them free. And I love that because it's, again, it's more applicable to tennis, right? Where I hire a coach, they help train me to hit my forehand better. And once I understand the problems that I had and how I can do it better, I'm on my own. I don't constantly have that coach there by my side. So that's kind of the goal here, is that to have somebody that has the SEO knowledge and they can help you gain that knowledge and take it and move forward with it on your own. Also, her mantra is that the better you serve your audience or your clients, however you describe them, the better your SEO is. That there is so much truth to that, and that SEO basically is just, it kind of permeates everything that you do. And so the way you take your photos, the way that you write your posts, all of these things can have a big impact on SEO, and it's really kind of integrated. So I think it's an interesting model, and I really think it's a great conversation. In fact, I loved it so much. I had such a great time. Megan's got great energy and it was a lot of fun. So I am so excited to share it with you. So let's get straight to it. Here's today's featured discussion with Megan Clarke. Hey everyone, I'm happy to have Megan Clarke. She's of Clapping Dog Media and she's on the show today. Hey Megan, welcome to the Chopped Podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Marley. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Me too. I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is not only near and dear to my own heart, it's something I'm very focused on, but it's also something that a lot of bloggers are interested in, which is SEO, otherwise known as search engine optimization. So, Megan, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be beneficial to so many people.
Oh, great. Me too. I love SEO. I love unveiling the kind of behind the scenes or under the hood of search engine so that people can make a bigger impact on their community by just getting more traffic from Google. So I can't wait to get started.
Yes, me too. And I love how you describe on your site as you describe yourself as an expert at connecting the dots of data to get your business found. And I just love that so much because there's some magic in the data.
Mm-hmm. There is. There is.
I think sometimes people think they have to have a certain mindset or a certain, only numbers people are interested in the data. But I think there's a story there that we can uncover.
There absolutely is. And that's really my approach to SEO is I love it when people just are true to themselves in their content and they write about what they want. They write about their passion. And if we can connect those dots properly with Google, just a little bit of technical stuff,
Yeah.
then they will be found for their passion and what they want to be known for. And the beauty behind that is there are people looking for that passion and there are people looking for that specific niche. And if we can connect those dots, then you will be found by the people who are actually looking for you. And so that's how you grow a community and you get traffic that converts and traffic that comes back again and again. So really having really good content and just a little bit of technical SEO can really make a huge difference in your business.
I love it. It's a little bit like finding your people, right? Like helping you're like
Yes.
the middle person helping us find the people that we're trying to connect with.
I like to describe, I picture myself as one of like those old school telephone operators who just is like connecting the wires is like,
Yes.
that is exactly what I wanted. That's exactly what I want to tell people about SEO is yes, your people are looking for you and you can be found. We just need to connect a little wire and then, the impact will be really large.
It's so funny that you say that because we just watched that fabulous Mrs. You know
Yes.
what I'm talking about?
Marvelous. Yes. The marvelous.
Marvelous
Yeah.
Maisie or something like that. Yes.
Yes.
And she's an
She's
operator for a
hilarious.
while. It's just looking at that, you think, God, it's hard to imagine it used to be that way.
Right. It's hard to imagine that we just don't have a phone in our pocket. That's
I
crazy.
know, I know. So tell me a little bit about Clapping Dog Media and how it is that you came to become the founder of that.
That's great. So I've always been in the kind of the creative world. I was a web designer and graphic designer out of school, and I worked in several agencies. I'm in Northern Virginia, and I traveled into DC, and I worked in lots of agencies for the first part of my career, and I loved it. But then, as a lot of women have experienced, I had kids, and our family grew really quickly. Our oldest two boys are adopted, and then I got pregnant. So within a matter of 18 months, I went from 0 to 3 boys.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a little bit crazy and
Yes.
mayhem and all of that, all of those things that you're thinking about actually happened and then some. So it was crazy. But after a few years, I don't know if I would ever say we were settled in, but once everything kind of settled down a little bit, I really missed that creative part of my life. Like I can be creative with Legos, but it's not really the same. And so after a while, I really wanted to start designing again and like kind of do stuff for myself again. And so I picked up some projects just really from other friends who were in the same boat as me, like women who had a career, then they stayed home with their family, and then they wanted to swing up some sort of side hustle for their mental sanity, but also to make some extra money. So I started picking up some of these projects and designing them. And I mean, I loved it. I thought it was so fun to kind of work again and to use that part of my mind. And what I was finding though, being outside of an agency for the first time really, was I would design a beautiful website for a client who had amazing products or amazing services that were priced well, and nothing happened. And that happened again and again. I would work with a client, we would create a beautiful site, but then it really didn't make a big impact on their life or their business. And so after 3 or 4 times of this, I really dug in and I picked a site that I knew had potential. It was well designed and the client had really great products. And I just kind of dug into the analytics and the traffic, why people were coming. I called people who were coming to our site, and I was like,
Wow.
no, wait, what is happening? Why are you leaving? What did you like? What did you didn't like? I really tried to dig into the traffic. And this was back in, 2014, 2013, 2014. And that's when I really started understanding traffic and that layer of search engine optimization that's a part of everyone's business. And I really enjoy it. And I honestly, it's very selfish because I really love helping people, kind of being their encourager and helping them kind of realize their full potential. Like it's like I reached into their pocket and I found gold in their pocket, and then I could give it back to them.
Oh.
So that's really that's why I love SEO. It's like, I like to make it simple. I like to take away the scary part of it, because everybody that I've worked with so far, and I'm sure there's some out there that aren't, but they have amazing passion and amazing businesses. And the only thing they need the only thing that's separating them from just complete success is traffic. And I like to help them with that.
Oh, that's so much in that story. I just love it so much because I mean, I think about my time staying at home with my daughter and how I loved it, but at the same time, I felt the same way. And also just
Mhm.
I don't know, I think the potential for creativity when you get a little bit of time off and then you just, I think you come out of that just like sprouting with lots of great ideas. So it sounds like,
Yeah.
you're living your passion.
I really am, because I get to work at home. I have a little business in my office, and like today, for example, my middle son is sick, and so
Oh,
he's at home. He's watching TV, and I love the flexibility that I have. I can be on your podcast today. My son can be home, and still be able to work. So I really am living my dream, and I try not to take it for granted too much.
oh, that's great. I also, the other thing I love about what you're talking about is this collaboration that goes on among professionals. Like I used to work, I didn't work in an agency like you did, but I worked in a corporate environment. And I know a lot of people hate all the meetings, but I actually enjoyed some of the meetings at least. So, especially when there was a problem going on and you had these brilliant minds around the table all collaborating, trying to figure it out. And I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes as bloggers, we're out there like trying to figure it all out for ourselves. So, this concept of collaborating with others, I think that's just so powerful.
Yes, I agree. I am an extrovert and I miss people.
Oh,
When I
yes.
was home with my boys at first when they were sleeping, I was like looking out the window, like who's going to walk by that I can go out and talk to them.
Yes.
I need some grown up conversation.
Yes,
Um,
it's
is
true.
that the mail lady? I'll go talk to her.
The mail lady's probably like, not that house.
She's crazy. Who
Yeah.
is this crazy woman? And so that's totally my life. And so I agree. I also get really excited and really high off of other people's businesses. Like it's
Oh,
like, man, that's super cool. Like I work with a lot of health and wellness and food bloggers because I actually really love food. And so it was easy for me to kind of find my niche, but I certainly have other clients who are more e-commerce that make things. And
right.
I have some jewelers who, man, they are so talented and they're so cool. It's like you're going to be like at Anthropology in no time because your work is so beautiful. And so I really like to be, in other words, I really like to be to help other people because their businesses are so cool, and I
Oh.
really like to see what they're all about.
And I think it's got to be a relief for people to hear that what you're talking about, because I think there is this mindset out there that it's a build it and they will come kind of thing. And
Yeah.
there is more to it than that. I mean, you can design the most beautiful site and have all these great things, but you also need to have traffic come into that.
Right. That's right. And it is, and I love the kind of the collaboration between your business and the traffic, because you get to see, okay, so where your traffic is coming from and what do they like to read and what do they want to learn more about. And so part of the SEO angle is, well, we get to kind of dive into that data and see that, man, you had a blog post back in the fall of 2018 that people are still searching for and finding. Like, let's give them more of that. And so I like to, I really like to like bash the myths of SEO. I think there's a lot of people who think it changes all the time and that it's expensive and that it's technical and hard. But really, it is a lot about just like listening a little bit better to your audience and then digging a little bit deeper into what you want to produce and what you're passionate about. And when they get to match up what the client's looking for, or what your audience is looking for, and what you're really good at giving, man, then it's just really good business and it's really good marketing. And SEO just plays a little bit of that, making that connection.
I love that. So, do you mind if we talk a little bit about what you think are some of these myths
Sure.
related to SEO?
Yes, I'd love to, because I'm out to bash the world of these myths.
Let's do it. You're like that person
Let's
with
do
the
it.
hammer in that game with a whack-a-mole, right? Let's whack-a-mole
That's
these.
it. That is exactly it. And I get so mad at other, just some other SEOs who just are. I don't know. I don't want to talk negatively, but some of the things that I think that I really I want your audience to hear me. And the number one myth that I hear a lot is that SEO changes all the time. And so you don't need to pay attention to it, because if you learn about it today, next week it's going to change. And there is truth in that. Google is constantly updating their algorithm so that they can provide better answers on the search results. So, there are people who say that they update their algorithm a couple hundred times a year, and that may be true. But the heart and the soul of SEO and what Google's looking for literally doesn't change.
Hmm.
Google's main mission is to match a really great website with every search result. And since there's 4 billion people searching a day, they have to constantly tweak their game so that they can provide the right answer, because they're competing against YouTube and Pinterest and some of these other places where people will default to and people will go to. So Google is literally just trying to figure out the quality of a website as fast as they can. And some of the things that they look at are old school, like how much time does a user spend on your site, and how many pages do they visit while they're on your site. These are two indications that your site is high quality and people want to go there.
Okay, say that
And
again.
so if
Is how long they spend
Sure.
on your site?
How long they spend on your site, which is dwell time. So if people spend a minute or 2 minutes on your site, that is a signal to Google that your site is high quality and people are actually reading it. They're not coming to your site saying, this isn't what I want," and leaving. They're coming and they're staying for a while. They're really enjoying what you're reading.
That kind
And
of makes sense, short of Google calling people who come to your site like you did. They have to have some indicators that helps them understand that your site is answering the questions that people are looking for.
That's exactly right. And from Google's perspective, if people are hanging out there for a while, spending time and visiting multiple pages, like clicking around, that's a quality control for Google. They think, "Oh wow, well this person has a well-designed site. It's easy to navigate, it's easy to use, and the content that they have is valuable." And so those are two of the top 5 ranking factors that Google looks at.
Wow. So that right
And that's
there,
been true for years. That has been true for
wow.
years. That does not change.
Right there, I can hear what you were saying earlier is that you're looking for the data, a few technical points that can make a change that can help somebody. And I think kind of directing them a little bit on, maybe it's creating more internal links so that people can
Mhm.
link over to another page, or some things like that could be some small technical things make people can make a change and can improve their SEO results.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things that I see is just that internal linking. Like, make it easy. If somebody is reading a really wonderful article about fat bombs, then make it really easy for users to find other articles on fat bombs. Like, how can we make it like bingeable? And sometimes a lot of times it's linking, it's sidebars, it's maybe increasing the size of the images, because then people will want to spend more time and really look at your imagery. It's not like this weird technical stuff that's under the hood that only an SEO knows about. It's kind of looking at your site from a user's perspective and seeing how we can get people to stick around there longer.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And if you just think about how when you're on a site that you really like, and maybe it's colorful, maybe the links
Mhm.
are more, colored in a way that is very attractive, or there's just things that make you want to click, or maybe it's the way they
Yeah.
worded it. Like you're talking about fat bombs. Before we hit record, we were talking about Sarah Nelson and her site Real Balance, and she's got some awesome fat bomb recipes. And so, if I'm on a fat bomb recipe that's for, like a chocolate one, and then she's got one that's
Right.
like maybe it's like got coconut in it, and I love coconut, just like those kinds of
Yeah.
things, like you say, kind of helps you binge a little bit. That's nice.
Yeah, and that's it. And so, one of the myths, to kind of go back to that question, that I really like to uncover and to say that's really just a myth, is that it changes all the time. That SEO
Ah,
changes, but having having a high quality site that's valuable to your users is old school SEO, and that has not changed. And I don't foresee it changing because Google really has a lot of more competitors now than they did, say, 5 or 10 years ago. And like Pinterest and YouTube, and they need to provide good quality, and that's how they measure quality.
Well, one thing I would say, just from my personal data related to Pinterest versus Google, is that the traffic that comes from Pinterest is not there very long at all.
Right.
Is that kind of
Right.
common? Is that what you see?
Absolutely. I Pinterest can drive a lot of traffic,
Yes.
but they don't create raving fans
Ah, yeah.
because and it's just a complete difference on how each platform is used. When with Pinterest, people everything is given to them. Like you maybe you click on keto diets or um, painted cabinets for your kitchen, but then all of this information is actually given to you. And so you click around and there's, as you know, there's hundreds and hundreds of things to look at. And so it's very passive. Now, when you talk about Google, the user is actually being specific. They're looking for a specific thing. And when they come up with websites, it switches from being a passive exercise to a very purposed and direct exercise. And so if a user is typing in something to Google gives you, pages and pages of results back. They're going to match up a lot better because the user is actually looking for that. Now, I love Pinterest. I spend a lot of time on Pinterest planning like my recipes and my interior design dreams, but I spend a lot more time on Google because I like Pinterest is more of a fun, let's scroll through and see what beautiful things are out there.
Yeah.
But when I Google, I really actually am looking for a specific answer.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I
Hmm.
almost just want the picture, and on Pinterest
Yeah,
and on Google. You're right. I'm really more interested in actually doing this project. If it's like, I'm going to repaint my kitchen cabinets or whatever. Yeah, I
right.
might get the idea on Pinterest, but I use Google to find the people to actually do it.
Right. In Pinterest, there's a couple of clicks involved and a lot of competition in order to get a user from Pinterest to your website.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Yeah. And we want people on your site because for all
Right.
of the reasons that we just talked about.
Yes. So, are there things that you recommend, like for bloggers to do if they want to increase something like dwell time? What are some strategies for that?
Yeah. A lot of it just comes down to, like we were talking about, internal linking, making it easy for your audience to find more of what they're looking at. So maybe it's related pages, or maybe you create a big like a landing page or kind of cornerstone content. So let's say that if you are a keto blogger, you have maybe a big landing page for keto dinners, and you talk the top of that page about why you're passionate about these and what your favorite ingredients are, and maybe some information about you. And then you have a list of 5 to 10 of your most popular recipes that are for keto dinners. And that way, users are going to learn a little bit about you. Oh, throw in a picture or two so that they can feel more connected to you. And then they're going to see your favorite articles, your favorite recipes. That is one way without even realizing it, that you'll get people to stick around longer because they're going to learn more about you, and then they're going to find your favorite recipes. And then once they click on a recipe, if it's, say, I don't know, something about summer chicken or grilled chicken, then you can have other recipes there that are also grilled. So if somebody's looking at grilled chicken, it might be, they might be interested in your grilled steak recipe as well. And so it's really just trying to think of how you spend time on websites and how you jump from one page to the next.
Yeah, it does sound like it takes a little bit of, and how do I say this, but trying to put yourself in the mind of the reader.
Hmm.
If they click on, some grilled entree, that might mean that they want other grilled entrees. Whereas I could see, just from my perspective of being
Yeah,
in the weeds of a site, that if I have, for me, it would be grilled tofu. If I have grilled tofu on my site and somebody ends up on that, I might just have other tofu recipes, not realizing that
right.
they might want other grilled recipes. So
Right. You know,
it's like take a step back and kind of get out of the weeds a little bit here.
yeah, and it's really being very purposed
Yes.
and very intentional. And so, a lot of times clients come to me and they're like, well, I just have a good recipe or if I have a good idea and I just blog about it. And sometimes that's wonderful. But if you have a purpose to if you have an idea in your head of how you want your audience to learn about you and to kind of fall in love with you, that customer journey is something that I like to step back into and really think about. And so let's say for you, for example, if you love grilled tofu and you have a great, really popular recipe on grilled tofu, the first thing I do is go see how many supporting recipes do you have on the site. Do you have a lot of other tofu recipes? Do you have a lot of other grilled recipes? And if you don't, that's the first place we start, is kind of fill in the gaps around your most popular content. And so we can make it so that users spend more time on your site. It all kind of goes back to that.
Oh, I love that. That's just, I mean, that it sounds so, when you say that, it just sounds so simple and easy. And yet I think we just all are so, we get so busy doing all these things that we don't take
Mhm.
a moment to kind of take a deep breath. And like you say, I love that concept of the customer journey. That's beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, and that's what I do. I look at the I make I find the data. I say, oh, like here are your 25 most popular pages. Then we look at the content that's on your site, and if there's enough to support it, super. Maybe we'll make it a little bit easier to find on your side nav or within internal linking. But a lot of times there's not a lot of supporting recipes or supporting content to your popular stuff. And so then we're really purposed and we make maybe a 3 to 4 month editorial calendar based on your data. And that's the slight pivot that makes an SEO working with an SEO a little bit different. Is that we get the data, we know what your audience is liking, and then we plan content around what they're liking.
Oh, that's so nice. And as I mentioned to you earlier, one of the reasons we were talking about Sarah Nelson is because she was just recently on the podcast, episode 176, and she was talking about, developing a team because she felt like her passion was creating recipes. She didn't want to be the expert on social media and all these other things that a lot of bloggers, we wear all those hats. And
Right.
I loved her team-based approach. And that's kind of what I'm hearing from you is that, you know, um, rather than feeling like you have to have the expertise in everything, let us come and talk with you and poke around a little bit, see what the numbers are showing, and here are some tweaks that you can do, and here's a couple of new posts that you can write that will support your current popular content and actually help expand your traffic as a result.
That's exactly right. And I'm busy too. Like I have kids, I'm running a business, I have clients. It's like, oh, and I'm a wife and I also really like to binge on Netflix. So it's like time is hard, right?
Yes.
And so I feel like and if you can just pick one thing, and I vote Google because they have more users than anyone
Yeah.
else, then you don't have to be an expert in everything else. Like, sure, you can be on Pinterest, but it doesn't have to be your driving force, and you don't have to be an expert in Instagram or any of these other things, because if you're just found by Google, then they have literally 4 billion people searching a day,
Wow.
whereas Pinterest has 2 billion people searching a month. Like there are more people on Google. And so if you can just kind of get your Google game down, you don't have to chase likes and follows, because you're going to get enough traffic from Google.
Yes, and you just helped, just really bonk that myth in the head that Google is changing all the time. Although there are constant algorithm changes, the overall or maybe the foundation of SEO is still the same, which is create a great user experience.
That's right. That's right. And if you are, SEO, the rises and falls of the algorithm can be really pertinent if you have a huge enterprise website where you have multiple categories that are really unique. So let's say, I don't know, you have something about phones, and then you have something about learning about the outdoors, and then you have a travel section. Like if you have a Target, for example, if you're an expert in everything and you offer a lot of different things, then those algorithm changes make a difference. But the majority of bloggers and small businesses, if they typically have 1 to 3 things that they're really passionate about, and then it all goes back to having a great user experience. Like, you don't have to be at the top of like camping results and, how to furnish a basement. Like, if you kind of stick within your niche, you're fine. You can do really great things.
I heard you say something when you were talking about blog posts that kind of intrigued me because you mentioned that you could start the post with a little bit of information about yourself. Is that
Hmm.
so? In some ways, I what I heard from that is that you're suggesting that we should kind of put ourselves out there a little bit more. Would you, did I get that right?
Yeah. You know, people buy from people and
Yeah.
people like people. Like, there are literally 4 billion pumpkin pie recipes out there.
Yeah.
But people like your pumpkin pie because they like you and they can relate to you, whether you are a mom or you're not a mom, or you also work, if you work outside the home, like all of the things that make you special and make you you, people are going to relate to. So I really like to put it out there because I I know my people are out there. Like, the person who's like me is out there looking for me, just as like I'm looking for them as well. So if you can expose your story and tell why your pumpkin pie is literally the best, then people are going to respond to that, and they're going to like you, and they're going to want to know what you're going to produce next.
I love that because I feel like in some ways there's been this pressure lately to be all about the recipe, only about the recipe. And this kind of makes me feel like it brings it back to more like a blog and more about, people, like you say,
Mhm.
people want to see the experience of what this recipe is going to be like more. Like you say, you could get 100
Yeah.
pumpkin pies or 1,000 pumpkin pie recipes anywhere, but what's the difference with this one? What's the experience that they can expect?
That's right. And I would even say that of those 1,000 pumpkin pie recipes, a lot of them are the exact same recipe,
Yeah.
but it's what you bring to it that makes it special.
Oh, that's so nice. It feels, it feels like it's right on the mark. But what would you say to people who feel a little hesitant about putting themselves out there? Like, maybe, I imagine you're talking about photos too. And I think a lot of it, there's a
Right.
lot of people who are kind of shy away from putting themselves out there as far as photos and things like that.
Oh, I totally get that. And I have been very shy about putting photos of myself out there, and my kitchen or my dirty office.
Yeah.
Like, it's life, right?
Yes.
But I have found the more that you do, the more little DMs or emails that come to you specifically that say, "Hey, I love that piece of artwork that you have in your kitchen," or the one that was on the floor because you haven't hung it up in 9 months. I really liked it.
Yeah.
And so people see themselves in you, and no one's perfect. And so it's kind of like giving up that social media perfection,
Yes.
because we all know that it's not really real, and that
Come
just
on.
outside that frame there's
Yes.
laundry.
I mean, we can't live in this curated life where
No.
every room in the house is perfect or whatever. I see what you're saying.
Right.
I'd say, oh, that looks like my kitchen.
Yeah. Look, yeah, I have homework and dinner and, artwork from my 7-year-old all on the counter. And, I don't want to be messy, but I really like being
Right.
real. There's a beautiful, beautiful vulnerability when you're authentic. And that really does connect, because I may have an Instagram perfect like moment in my week, but
Yes.
maybe,
Right.
maybe,
Yes.
but the
Because
majority of my
the
moments are real.
the peonies are getting ready to be in bloom soon. So I can imagine, a scene where
Yeah.
they would be in a vase on my but other than
Right.
that, it's not an Instagram life here.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and as much as I live in like this beautiful curated life in my head, that is like, I may want that, but it's just not reality. And even if it was like that, I talk about this all the time with my husband. It's like, even if I was able to make a cake and for 10 minutes nobody walked by and put their finger through the frosting, that would just, I feel like that would be wonderful. But then at the same time, like, it's all of the stuff that makes life really good. So
Yeah. I heard somebody say recently that, if we worried less about being popular and more about being helpful. I think that would just, solve everything. And I really focused on that, and it really helped me a lot. In fact,
Mhm.
realize, it shouldn't be about being popular. It should just be about, what can I put out there that would be helpful for other people? And then I don't know, that it helped me a
It's
lot. I'm
so
just trying to say that.
true. It
Yeah.
well, and it really is true. It is 100% true because when you help people, 95% of the time, you get helped as well. It's like you
Yes.
can't give without getting either. And I think if we can tap into that and support each other because we're all in it together, then gosh, that's really where the magic happens.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask you, related to SEO, do you recommend? I know a lot of people are talking about old posts. Do you
Mhm.
recommend going in and updating those old posts?
I sure do. And
Mm.
this comes back to figuring out your data. So if you have, and FYI, I have a couple of videos on this on my YouTube channel because there are parts that get a little bit technical. But what I like to do with old posts, especially if you've been blogging for 4 or 5 years, if you have stuff, that's 4 or 5 years old, that's not getting a lot of traffic and is not serving you well, then it's time to update it. Maybe update the headlines, update the recipe a little bit, definitely update the photographs, and put an updated version on your website and say, "Hey, I got rid of the old one or updated it on that exact page and update that content." Now, if you have a piece of content that's old, that is either inaccurate, I'm sorry, that's old, but it's getting a lot of traffic, then I recommend that you create a new page that says, "Hey, here's the new version. Here's the updated version of this content," and have the old page rather, that's getting a lot of traffic, link to the new
Ah,
page. That way, if somebody Googles and finds the old content, they can quickly link to the new content. And, just to sound like a broken record, that is going to increase your pages per session, which is a huge signal for Google. So I guess the
right.
quick rule of thumb is if it's old content that's not getting any traffic, just go ahead and update it on that page. But if it's a piece of content that's old that is getting traffic, create a whole new page for it.
I like that, and I think to clarify for people is that if you have a page, especially if it's getting traffic from something like Google, you
Mhm.
want to be pretty careful, like, about making changes to it, because you could change some things that causes it to no longer get that great traffic.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So you want to be pretty careful about those posts bringing in traffic, and if you do go in and make changes, it sounds like, like adding a link to an updated version of that would be a great.
It's perfect.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well,
And
that makes me feel good to hear you say that, because as I go through my old content, sometimes I'm surprised to discover, like, for example, I have 3 scrambled tofu recipes on my site. I don't know how that happened, but they're slightly different.
yeah. Well,
And so
in that case,
what
I
would
would
you
put them
do?
all on one page. I would say,
Yes.
I would make a landing page of your favorite scrambled tofu recipes.
Okay. Because having 3 is kind of a little redundant.
Well, it is a little redundant, but I would make like a mega page, like a
Yes.
landing page for your scrambled tofu, and link to the other pages that have the recipes, but link to the 3 recipes on that one main landing page. But then on that landing page, I would be so like authentic and say, "I don't know how I ended up with 3 of these recipes. They're all good. This is the differences between them. Here are the links to the recipes. Try them out."
Ah, great. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, I like that. And would you recommend doing the same, like in that example you gave, where let's say you've got this brownie recipe and it's old and it's still bringing in a lot of traffic, but the photos are old and all the so you create a newer version
Yeah.
of that post, but eventually when that older post isn't getting all that traffic anymore, you could do the same with that, kind of link
That's
them
exactly
together.
right. So let's talk through that. So let's say once the new brownie recipe is getting a lot more traffic and it's getting kind of the megaphone from Google to the new page versus the old page, then it's totally safe to delete the old post and do a 301 redirect to the new post
Yes.
so that
Okay.
all of the traffic goes to the new page.
Ah, perfect. That way you're not losing any links that may have gone to that old
Right.
page,
That's
and they're
right.
all going to the new one. That's great. Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing you say is on updating old posts, like fixing new photos? Maybe would you recommend adding a video?
Yeah. Well,
Yes or
again,
no?
broken records. If you put a video on, people are very likely to watch it and they're likely to sit through and watch the whole thing. So that's going to be more time on your site, which is,
Ah.
again, a huge ranking factor. So, yes, I love videos.
And for the not maybe not as much for the perspective of like they're learning how to make the recipe. It's just that it may cause
Yeah.
them to stay on the site a little bit longer, which is good.
Right. And so I look at things always through an SEO lens and like, how is this going to benefit your SEO? And sometimes it
Yeah.
aligns brilliantly with your business goals and sometimes it doesn't. So like, I certainly don't want you to be worried and stressed about creating videos and not put new content up on your website. Then don't do that. But if it's easy for you to make videos and, they don't have to be perfect by any means, then put a video on there because from an SEO perspective, it's only going to benefit.
Nice. I love that. Um, we were talking earlier about some myths, and you talked about that one of them is that SEO is changing all the time. Do you have another myth you would like to share with us that we could bust?
Sure, I have a lot. Um, One is that SEO is really hard, and that you need to hire somebody to do it because, like, it's so hard. And I'm hoping this conversation just kind of busts that, where SEO is not something that you just like do and you put over there in a corner. It's not done in a vacuum. It's a layer of your business. It's a layer of your content creation and the way you think about your website. So I want people to understand that it's not this crazy, weird technical thing that you must hire a really smart person to do. It really, it's just a layer of your business. And if you think about it like providing value and being helpful to your audience, then you're 95% there.
Interesting. So it's don't look at it as its own silo. It's really
Right.
kind of pervasive in everything that you're doing. Like even the photos that you're taking, even
Hmm.
how you're writing the post, all of those things.
Yeah, I say good business is good SEO.
I love that. So from that perspective, I think what I'm hearing you say, even if you were to hire somebody to help you with your
Yeah.
SEO, you should still understand it because it is going to impact how you're writing the recipe or how you're taking the photos. All of that has an impact on SEO.
Absolutely. And so that is one of the reasons one of the ways I've set up my business is I don't work with people forever. I typically work with people 1 month at a time where I go in and we look at data, we align your passions, we relink things. And mind you, there are some technical things that will help and that I can do. But once they're done, they're kind of done until you do a platform change or do a whole new website. So, like I said, so I like to work with people at 1 month at a time. And if it's a really big site that we're really trying to realign, then I work for people about 3 months. But I don't work with people in forever because my goal is for us to kind of fix things up, realign your content to your passion, and then I show you the key things that you need to do when you produce content, and you kind of launch off on your own.
Nice. So it's almost like a coaching program, or
Yeah,
you give people a work plan and
that's
they go
exactly
to
it.
work the plan.
That's exactly what I do. And so that's another myth is like once you hire somebody, it's like, man, you have to pay them forever. And no, that's not how I like to work because it's not necessary.
Right. But I can see, anytime you're learning something new, it's important to, have somebody kind of guide you in that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, good. Thanks.
Well, because like I say, I feel like in some ways as bloggers, we're all out there individually trying to figure out all of these things on our own. And I just think there's great power in collaboration with experts.
I totally agree. And I just want to give you my knowledge so that you can take it and you can move on and make a bigger impact in your world. Because
Mm.
every website out there needs to get more traffic from Google. So I'm not in a little tiny niche that I need to hold on to my clients forever or I'm never going to get paid. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who need some SEO help and I'm happy to help them.
Yes, I love that. And I was just going to tell you a quick little story based, you're talking about date. We're talking about data and how it can impact you as a blogger. And I recently, like within the last 3 months, signed up with, I don't even know how you say it. Is it Ahrefs or Ahrefs or
Yes,
Ahrefs?
Hrefs.
Ahrefs.
Yes.
Okay. So I signed up with them and I discovered through this process that we had one of our site redirects wasn't working,
Oh.
and it was the HTTPS
Yep.
wasn't had some. We had switched to a new host, and as a result of that, that accidentally got turned off. And I tell you this because without Ahrefs, sorry, I'm sorry, I would not have figured that out. I would have probably just been sitting back thinking, what's going on here, because I'm losing links, I'm losing, things are not
Yeah.
happening, my traffic isn't growing, there's a problem here. And I would have just thought, well, the traffic gods are against me, I guess. But
Yeah.
having the data was, it was just wonderful because it was a very quick fix,
Hmm.
and it just pointed it out to me so much easier. I just wanted to share that as an example of how not only having the data, but actually having somebody who can help you understand the data is so important.
So important, and it's so helpful. And the thing that I really love that you said in that is that you thought like the traffic gods weren't on your side. And
Yeah.
that's true because there was a little technical glitch, but it's not personal, it's not
Right.
emotional. And because
Yes.
we pour our heart and soul in our businesses,
It becomes, yeah.
you think it's your fault. It's like this
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. And that's part of like why I love SEO, is because it's like I get to give you the gold back that's hiding in your pocket. No, it's nothing to do with your quality or you as a person or your story. There is some dumb technical glitch that we just need to fix once, and then the traffic is going to be coming back. So from an empowerment perspective, I think you can't really beat SEO.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have one one final question on SEO related things, and that is, do you I noticed that you have someone on your team that also does social media. How important do you think social media is to SEO?
That's a super question. And my answer is it's indirectly related. If Google looks at your brand and says, like as a whole, if they take the 10,000 foot view and you are growing in followers and likes and engagement, say on Instagram, and then they're going to come back to your website and they can see that you're producing good content, they will rank you higher than another website that's not getting that social engagement.
Mm,
So it is indirectly related. But as I had mentioned before, I don't like to put I don't like to put a lot of eggs on any one basket, because, Pinterest is wonderful, but you don't get a lot of people to stick around on Pinterest. And Instagram is also wonderful, but they change their algorithm all the time and they
yes.
don't tell us that they've done it. Google at least
Mm,
tells us what they've done and how to perform better to match their algorithm. Instagram doesn't do that. So you really are throwing arrows in the dark, trying to get and to keep that following. So I think it's important because it's a great way to reach new people, but as long as you're sending them back to your website, that's the big dreamy goal, because once they get to your site, that's when they're really going to fall in love with you and really be into your brand and be like fans for life. So
ah, yeah.
it's important, but it's not stuff that I like to sweat over. Like, as long as you send people back to your site, you should be in good shape.
I love that. And in fact, that's one reason I use CoSchedule, because
Yeah.
it's right there in WordPress, and I'm able to schedule out several social media posts within the post itself, and then I can move on. It's
That's
taken over.
exactly right. That's right. Like,
Yeah.
post it and forget it. That's exactly right.
I'm not saying it's the perfect. I'm sure there are other people who have way better systems. I don't know, but I'm just saying for me personally that really works well. And they even have like this reschedule requeue program where they'll send the same message out, so I don't have to mess with it anymore.
Right. Well, I
Yeah.
love that because, social media is like such a good and bad thing, especially as my
Yes.
my oldest are kind of growing up and they're like preteens now. It's like, I don't want you to get any value, any personal value from your feed, because it is like the wind, it will change every day. But
Yes.
if you can keep people, your soul is poured out on your site, and that's where we really want to invest our time and effort and money, because as people are scrolling through on their phone, giving you less than half of a second, that's not enough time to convince people of anything. So
Right.
I just don't want you to, I don't like it when people are so discouraged by the competition, or they're not getting that post isn't getting enough likes, all of that stuff. I just like turn off, and I've just shut that door in my brain, because it has no direct relation to how good you are as a chef, a blogger, a business owner. It's like the switching wind.
Oh, Megan, I love this conversation so much because I feel like you've given us some technical, I don't know, technical tools to work with, but also the encouragement to be ourselves and to, to put ourselves out there as real people. And I think that those two together are pretty powerful.
Oh, well, thank you. I agree. And that's the passion behind my business.
I love it. Okay, so I have these fun questions I love to ask at the end of the interview. Are you game?
I'm so game. Hit
Okay,
me.
so you mentioned that you like food, and that's one reason you love to work with food bloggers. So I just have to ask you, what's your favorite food?
Oh my gosh, well, that's really hard to say. Oh my gosh, there is like nothing better to me than an evening with a lot of good cheese and red wine. So
Oh,
if I got to pick like my favorite evening, it's rich conversation with good cheese and wine.
what a great combination. Yes. Do you have any particular favorite cheese?
Oh my gosh, all of them. I love aged Gouda that have the little salty crunchies in them. Oh, I love Gouda. And then, I mean, brie, cold brie, hot brie. I love all the blue cheeses. I love all the sneaky cheeses. I just shovel them in my mouth. So the problem with me is that there's nothing I don't like. So
I know the feeling.
it's like, oh, this is amazing. So
Now
yeah,
we talked about low carb before we hit record. So I'm just curious,
uh,
how do you eat the cheese? Do you just eat it with your fingers?
well, when I'm really bad and not following my recipe, I do, or my diet, I do eat it with wet red wine and a really good crispy loaf of bread. But
Ah,
I can't do
yeah,
that
that's
all the
the best.
time. So I do
Yes.
just default to my fingers. I also love goat cheese on a salad. Like I love, like we're, in springtime now, and all of the fresh berries on delicious, I'm not going to say delicious kale, but maybe delicious spinach and a little bit of goat cheese. Ugh, now that is just heavenly.
That's great. And do you have a favorite red wine that you go to?
Well, so these days I've been really into Malbecs, and of course, I like them from Argentina. But I don't have one in specifically, but I do have like my little wine cart right now is filled with Malbec and some sparkling rosé.
Nice. I love it. Okay, it sounds like you'd be a fun place to go for a party, I'm for sure.
Yes, please
Yes.
come over.
I'd love
We'll
that.
eat and drink wine.
Yes, I love it. Okay, what's the favorite app on your phone?
Oh, okay. So this is totally new. This is like within the last 2 to 3 weeks. I downloaded this app at soccer practice because
Yeah.
boy, soccer practice, but it's called
Yes.
Elevate, and it's called Elevate, and they have like these like quizzes, like brain training, and it's really fun. And so my husband and I both have it, and then we have competitions to see, who is better at writing this week versus math. And I will say I'm doing really well with speaking, writing, and reading, but my math is that of a fifth grader. So there's
I
that.
mean, when it's just so hard to, like, if you're not keeping up on those skills, you're not
So
doing
hard.
flashcards all the time. So it's like certain things just kind of leave your memory after a while.
Totally. It totally left my brain. And I mean, hello, I have a calculator in my pocket everywhere I
Hello.
go. So
That's right.
I don't have to learn how, I don't have to be able to subtract double digits quickly. I just use my
Yes.
calculator.
That's right. It does it for you. Why would I want to waste my brain space on that? But I do know there's value in that, right? Like it
I
keeps you up
know.
on things, keeps your brain fast. It's like a muscle.
Yes, that's exactly right. So yeah, I tell my boys that they must learn how to subtract by hand. Meanwhile, I use my calculator, and I do want to learn more math just so I can outsmart my husband and the Elevate app.
I feel like math is a language of itself, and once you learn the rules, it does make it, like any
Yeah.
language, it makes it easier.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
I love this app. I'm going to get it because I love trying to, if you're just sitting watching a show, sometimes I like to have something going on. And so, yeah, that
Absolutely.
sounds
Or
very
if
good.
you have 3 boys who are in soccer practice.
That's true
Either
too.
way.
And you're stuck in the car waiting for them.
Yes.
Yes.
Either way,
Okay.
either one of them are very helpful.
I love it. Do you have any time for TV or reading at all? If you do, what's your favorite?
Oh my goodness. So I don't have time for it, but I just stay up late and like don't get as much sleep. But I just finished totally binging on Dead to Me on Netflix.
We were watching that
Oh my
too.
gosh, it's so good with Christine.
That's
I love Christina Applegate because
Yes.
I am a child of the 90s and I always look at her as a Bundy. And so when I see her outside of that role, it makes me really happy. But Dead to Me, I thought was excellent. So I really love that. And the other show that I'm constantly watching is Extraordinary Homes with Carolyn and Pierce. They are
Oh,
these
yeah.
two really cute people that go all around the world looking at these amazing houses, and it is my favorite. I love it.
I watched a couple of episodes of that and I just was just shocked at how amazing
Yes,
some of these homes are. It's just wow.
it's amazing, and how they're
Yeah.
incorporated. I can just talk for days about that. So I totally watch TV because my brain is tired after all of that
Yes.
work on Elevate. That I really need to unwind and watch TV.
It's a good 1-2 punch, right?
That's exactly right. Like now, like I just outscored my husband, so it's time to watch some Extraordinary Homes.
I love it. Okay, so Megan, how can people find you online?
Oh, so I am at clappingdogmedia.com. And on my website, I have a whole section called Simple SEO, where you'll find, or SEO Made Simple. And so you can go check SEO Made Simple out on Clapping Dog Media and get more of this information. And I'm also on Instagram at Clapping Dog Media, where you'll find a mix of SEO tips and pictures of my family and my dog. So go
I
follow
love
me.
it.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, that's so good. Megan, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I had a really good time.
Oh, me too. Thank you.
Thanks to Megan Clarke for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. Guess what? There's exciting things coming your way soon. Be sure to sign up today for the Chopped Academy newsletter so you'll be the first to learn about it when it comes available. Go to chopped.academy and scroll to the bottom of the page and click subscribe. Thanks for your support of the Chopped Podcast. Your reviews on iTunes and Stitcher make such a big impact. It takes only a few seconds of your time and it means so much. We also appreciate your reviews on social media. So if you're listening on your phone right now, take a screenshot or take a photo of yourself listening to this episode and share it with me on Instagram at either Namely Marley or at chopped.academy. I love hearing from you. It really makes my day. You inspire me, and I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks for listening and have a great week.